Now we've already looked at white space characters, and they are we call non-printable characters. So although they are encased in quotes, the /n/t, they're not actually printed. It's like a command to Python to perform an action to do with spacing or putting things onto a new line. There's also an escape character that we need to know. An escape character, which is the slash. Okay, so the forward slash is or backslash, sorry, is the escape character that you need to be aware of. Now the reason why it comes in handy is take a look at this code. So I've got 4 print statements here, and on that first print statement I've got print. A famous Shakespearean quote is, and then we've got this new line character. So what I want it to do is go onto the new line, to be or not to be, and then another print that says, now that's a question. Okay, can you see here? If I run this, it's definitely going to cause an error. I already can see this isn't going to work because it should all be green. This should be an all should be a string, but it isn't. Now the reason being is because when I want to print a string, or I want to define a variable as a string, I encase it in quotes. But I want to print a quote. So I want to print the actual quotation marks. In this case, what I would need to do is use an escape character. So a famous Shakespearean quote is, and you can see it thinks that I've finished the string because I've put that quote in. To get it to ignore that quote, I then put the slash. Can you see what's now happened? To be or not to be. So it's all gone green. So this quote is now going to be kind of ignored, but it will be printed. I also want it to print this one, and then I want it the string to end. Okay, I'm just going to do something here for these two. I don't want to explain these yet. I'll explain what I'm doing to these in a second. It's just so that I want the interpreter to ignore those. So I've actually turned them into comments. I'll explain that a little bit more in a second. Let's run this and see what happens. Okay, can you see this? So we've got a famous Shakespearean quote is, it drops down to the new line, because I've got the new line white space character here. And in order to get it to actually put to be or not to be in quotation marks, and for those quotation marks to actually be printed, I use the escape character, the slash, then the quote, then another escape character, quote, and then the quote at the end the string. So I've got a famous Shakespearean quote is to be or not to be. Now that's a question, and that was on that line there. So in order to get Python to actually output a quote or quotation mark, you need to have that /n. So I hash these out. Now a hash turns any line into a comment, and I'm going to start talking about comments as your programs start getting more involved. Comments are very, very important when it comes to maintaining your code. It helps you as a programmer and other programmers be able to understand your code and know what it's doing. We haven't been writing that much code in order to really use commentary at the minute, but as we start to progress through programming, I will explain the use of single multi-line quotes in more detail. I'm just going to quote those 2 top lines out so that they won't run. And what I want you to see is how these 2 printed. So I've got a print statement that says today's date is 12th of the 6th, 2019. It's all green, so can't imagine that's going to cause an error. Looks okay to me. And then I've got print, the file path is, and then I've got this escape character because I want this file path here to be in quotes. So I've put escape character in so that the file path is in quotes. Fair enough. Okay, that should work, shouldn't it? Let's run it and have a look. Today's date is something unrecognisable. 12 blob 9. 12 blob 9. The file path is, got the quote in there, that worked. But C colon, missing half of it. Yeah, looks more like French to me than a file path. So something's not quite right. So you remember me telling you that this here, this slash, is an escape character. If I want to actually print a slash, I'm going to have to escape the escape character. So you actually need to have double lines. So if I want to print a file path, for example, and for those lines, those slashes to actually appear, I need to actually put double of them in. So let me run this again and hopefully this will look much nicer. There we go. Today's date is 12th of the 6th, 2019. Got my slashes in there. Makes lovely sense now. The file path is c:/testing/test.txt. So escape characters. In order to print a quote, you need to escape that quote, so it ignores the quote almost and actually sees it as a printable element rather than the end of the string. And in order to actually print a slash and for it to ignore that it's an escape character, you need to have two of them. And those are the escape characters. So answer the questions on escape characters and then you can move on to the next section of your note.